What's going on, guys? Mirai here, back again with another Genshin Impact video, and today MiHoYo just dropped the Xinyan trailer. So Xinyan is gonna be the new 4-star character that we are getting together with Zhongli, and she is a Pyro Claymore user. So let's just take a look at the trailer first.
D エコー唯一のロックミュージシャンだ。最近コンサートツアーをやろうと思っててな。場所はあんたいろんなところを巡ってる旅人だよな。あたいをその旅に加えろ。どこへ行こうと可能ね。いよいよ開演だ。一緒に盛り上がろうぜ。くらえ火花を散らせ。あたいのロックが援護する。はあ
Alright, so let's take a look at her skills. So as you can see here, this is the website that I'm using. I will leave a link in the description for those who are interested in reading all these for yourself. And as you can see here, she is a 4-star Claymore Pyro user. And as she ascends, her main stat that increases will be attack percent, which is really nice. That leads me to believe that she is at least viable for a DPS build. And for her Ascension materials, you can see that she needs the insignias as well as violet grass. So for those who are planning to build her, you definitely want to consider stocking up some of these insignias and violet grass. Alright, so next we move on to her normal attack. Her normal attack is pretty standard. It's a 4-hit combo, and if you hold it, then it becomes a spinning attack damage. So nothing much special here. You can see all the numbers over here. You can pause the video to take a look if you're interested. Next we move on to her E. So her elemental skill actually forms a shield that scales off her defense and on the number of enemies hit. So as you can see over here, hitting 0 to 1 enemies will grant level 1 shield, and then 2 enemies level 2 shield, and 3 enemies or more she will get the 3rd level shield, which is the highest level. And the shield has a 250% damage absorption against pyro damage. Okay, so it's pretty standard shield, but what I want to draw your attention to is the level 1 and level 2 as well as the level 3 scaling. So as you can see here, level 1 and level 2, there's not much difference, just you just get more HP. But at level 3, meaning if you hit 3 enemies or more, actually we'll get into a little bit of that later. But for level 3, you actually do some AoE pyro damage. So as you can see here, hitting 3 or more enemies grants shield level 3, Wraith, which also deals intermittent pyro damage to nearby enemies. So as you can see here, this is the damage scaling of the AoE. And the shield will last for 12 seconds and the cooldown is 18 seconds. So yeah, that is a pretty interesting skill. We will take a look deeper as we get into her Constellation and her Ascension talents. So right now we'll move on to her Elemental Burst. And for her Elemental Burst, she strums rapidly and launches nearby enemies and deal physical damage to them. Okay, so do take note, this is physical damage. However, the sheer intensity of the atmosphere will cause explosions that deal pyro damage to nearby enemies. So that is a pretty interesting skill, meaning that she does deal physical damage as well as pyro damage. So this is the damage scaling of the skill, and also the damage over time that you can see over here. And it will last 2 seconds and the cooldown is 15 seconds. The energy cost is 60, which is pretty okay. I think that's more than Zhongli's, but you know, still substantially okay. Next, we move on to her talent Ascension materials. So for her talent Ascension, she requires the Guide of Gold and also the insignia, just like her character Ascension. So as you can see here, you eventually will need more and more books. And what's interesting here is that you do need the crown of sagehood to raise her to the max level for her talent. So looking at her passive talents, the first passive talent is when a perfect cooking is achieved on a defensive boosting dish. You will get 12% to obtain double the product. That is similar to Noel, I believe. So nothing special there. And the second talent, which unlocks at level 40, I think, it decreases the number of enemies sweeping fervor, which is the elemental skill, must hit to trigger each level of shielding. So for shield level 2, you just need one enemy to hit, and for shield level 3, you only need 2 enemies to be hit. So this is very important because as you level up, you do need a lesser amount of enemies to be hit before you can activate the DOT, and that is especially important for the shield level 3. So requiring 2 enemies is not that unreasonable, and I can see that it will become very useful. And the next one is the level 70 Ascension passive. So this passive, characters shielded by her E deal 15% increased physical damage. So if you are running a physical team and you run her the support build, you can actually use her shield and then swap out to someone that is that deals a lot of physical damage, and you could probably use her in that way as well. So you don't necessarily have to use her as a physical DPS. You could still use her as a tank support, which I don't know, I might use her in that way. We'll run some tests and we will see how it goes, because right now I am focused on Zhongli, so I don't have much resources to build her, but we will definitely try some experiments with her. Alright, so moving on to her Constellation. So for her Constellation 1, upon scoring a critical hit, increases the attack speed of Xinyan's normal and charged attacks by 12% for 5 seconds and can only occur once every 5 seconds. So the important thing here is that if you score a critical hit every 5 seconds, the attack speed of her normal attack and charged attacks will be increased permanently, because the cooldown of this skill is 5 seconds and the uptime is also 5 seconds. So assuming you can chain your critical hits, you will have 100% uptime on this passive, which is really nice because we don't have any artifacts that raise attack speed. So the only way to increase attack speed is through talents and constellations and whatnot. So this is definitely something that I could see being useful if you are building her to be a DPS dealer. So on her Constellation 2, Rift Revolution's physical damage has its critical rate increased by 100% and will form a shield at level 3 when cast. So this is also very strong, a very strong Constellation, because this means that when you use her Elemental Burst, the physical damage has a 100% crit. Okay, so once you hit that crit, you will activate the first Constellation, and also you will activate your E, which gives a shield that deals pyro damage over time, because it's level 3. So that is really strong, and I don't know why they have incorporated this, but if this is true, that is extremely strong. So you definitely should be looking at a Constellation 2 minimum for Xinyan if you are building her as your main DPS. So next, we move on to Constellation 3. Nothing special there. Increases one of her skills by 3 levels. And then Constellation 4, the Sweeping Fervor's swing damage decreases the opponent's physical resistance by 15% for 12 seconds. So this further amps her damage, or if you run her support, then Constellation 4 is a nice boost to whichever character you are switching into as your main DPS. So for example, if you use Zhongli, then the Opponent's physical resistance will be decreased by 15%, which means, for Zhongli or even Razor, who deals physical damage, your damage will be further boosted by that amount. So that's really nice. And Constellation 5 is nothing special, and then Constellation 6 decreases the stamina consumption of Xinyan's charged attacks by 30%, and additionally, Xinyan's charged attack gain an attack bonus equal to 50% of her defense. So that is really nice, especially if you are rocking her with a defensive build, because she does scale off defense, at least on her elemental skill. So that is a pretty nice passive to have, but I'm not sure if this will match up to the Constellation 1 and Constellation 2. I believe these two constellations are pretty sick. So next we move on to her artifacts, and for her artifacts there is a lot of ways you can build her, and I think the best DPS set that you want on her would be the physical set, so you might want to consider the Bloodstain set. I think that would be really nice on her. And some other sets to consider is definitely the Pyro damage set, which is the Witch set or the Lava Walker set. I think both of them will also be useful, but I'm not sure if they will be as useful as the Bloodstain set. Now, if you are looking to build her purely for support and tankiness, and you want to go full defense to activate her E, you might want to consider the Retracing Bolid set. I think that set would actually be pretty nice on her as well, because the 4 set is actually, it will give you a pretty decent damage boost as well. So next we move on to her weapon options. So for weapons, she actually has quite a few options, and the first option would be the DPS build, and if you are using her as a DPS, I suggest using the prototype Aminus, because that would give her a solid defense, or rather a solid attack percent, and also deal some extra AoE damage. So definitely that's the recommendation for 4-star, and if you want to go 5-star, Wolf's Gravestone, that's also possible. But if you want to build her defensively, which is not ideal, but it's the way that I'm going to build her, I am going to build her support because I don't need a DPS, especially not a Claymore DPS, which is Pyro, because, that guy. So for defensive or support build, I would definitely recommend the White Blind, which is the other craftable Claymore that nobody uses unless you are a Noelle main. So that is definitely gonna be good for her if you are looking to just use her as a support. Next, let's talk team composition. So for team composition, she is very versatile because there's a lot of ways to build her, but for the DPS build, I suggest you go for the Vaporize or the Melt build. So if you have Mona or you have TT, then you definitely should be using them. And if you don't, then you can replace them with some other Cryo or Hydro character. And the thing about Xinyan, which is interesting, is because her E will, assuming you hit the level 3 shield, will deal consistent AoE pyro damage. So that is gonna be really nice if you build her support. You can chain her with some other characters. For example, you can chain her with Razor for that extra overload damage. And also you can use her with, like I said previously, some physical DPS. So Zhongli is also pretty good with her in my opinion, and I will have to run some other tests with some other characters to see what her ideal composition is. But right now, if you are going the support build, I would recommend Zhongli or Razor as your main DPS, and if you're going for the DPS build on her, then you should go Mona or TT. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys for this video. I hope I did cover all of the aspects of this character, and if you have any questions or any suggestions or builds that you want to share with everyone, do comment them down below. I will try to respond to them as much as I can. So yeah, that's all for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.